Hey guys, welcome back for another video. I just want to give a huge shout out to all the new people who have joined this channel. We have significantly bumped up our subscribers since 2 weeks ago, and I think it has to do with certain popularity of some videos in the past, but also I think it's led to a lot of people going back and watching some old videos, which has been really great to see traction coming from videos that we recorded previously that didn't get so much. So if you guys are new to this channel, or maybe you have been following along but there are a couple videos that you have missed, make sure you go check them out. So a couple of weeks ago, I talked about wanting to turn this channel more than just barbecue, which we will be doing, and I got a couple lined up. But I also wanted this to be a channel where I can talk about certain things that personally, as someone who has things that I'm kind of working through on my own, and as I work with other students, as I talk to other barbecue guys, or just people in general in my life, there are things that I'm learning about myself, other things that I feel like I'm trying to teach myself, or things that I'm trying to implement to allow me to do all these different things at a level that I feel comfortable doing, meaning like I feel like I'm doing okay and getting better at these things, but as well as not giving myself this pressure on myself to where I feel like if I'm not at a certain level, then I shouldn't be doing anymore, or I don't want to do it anymore. One of the things that I have a really big problem with is this idea of being a perfectionist. And I think a lot of us say that we are perfectionists because we are unhappy with the quality of work or whatever that we end up coming out with. I think for myself, one of the things that I had to take out of my vocabulary is the word like perfectionist or perfectionism and things like that. I think I use that a lot to kind of give me a reason not to do certain things. For example, if there are certain things that I felt like I wasn't going to be successful at, if I knew that I wasn't going to be good at, then I almost didn't do those things. And I think because of that, myself and other people I've talked to, we have this, the thing that we call like imposter syndrome. So with that, I created this 75-80% rule. Now, what is the 75 and 80% rule? This rule means that I'm going to try my best at something, and if I'm only able to get 75 or 80% of whatever thing I'm trying to do or achieve, that I have to be satisfied with, what, at this moment, I'm okay with it. I'm good with just that amount, and I'm going to move on to the next thing. And basically, it's something that you've heard all the time, right? It's basically put your best foot forward. You're going to make mistakes along the way. It's not going to be perfect. But even though I've heard these things all the time, and I don't know, maybe because this is like, used to coaching and talking to, players and being like, hey, this is our rule. This is our mantra. This is going to be the thing that we're going to talk about all the time this year. If I'm doing something and I know that it's not perfect, if I know I'm not able to get to that 100% that I'm looking for, I always kind of sit back and just say, hey, 75-80%. I'm allowing myself to kind of free myself to not be able to focus on like every single mistake that I'm making, and like docking myself points away from that 100%. And I also realized too is, let's say I did actually hit that 100%. I don't think I'll ever really be satisfied, because if I know I hit the 100%, I always try to sit and think probably like, I wonder what 101% looks like. And so that extra, 80 to 100% are those times when everything just seems to go right. If I'm talking about in terms of barbecue, it's like I cooked everything perfect, and also the customers were nice. No one complained about the food. We didn't mess up any orders. The weather was nice. But I realized that in order to get that 100%, it requires almost the world to work around you and everything to align. I think I went through a difficult period in my life, prior to this, and like I said, I needed these rules to kind of fit into what I was trying to achieve. It allowed me to go back into teaching and coaching and be able to kind of set this rule for my students and my players as well. For example, this was, last year, while all of our students were we were trying to do school through Zoom, and a student came up, asked me if she can speak to me after class, and she was talking about how she was nervous all weekend because she knew that she was going to meet with me on Monday for tutoring when we had a test on Tuesday. And she said rather than studying, she was stressing about meeting because she was nervous about coming to the tutoring session and showing me that how much she didn't know. And that to me is that her wanting to be a perfectionist, that she wanted to come into a tutoring session where she's supposed to come in and have questions and get help. And so we had this kind of relationship for the second semester where I just told her like, hey, even if you don't get that 100%, you're still fine. Like, and you know what? Even if you get the 100% this time, you might not get it next time, and it's still okay. So the entire second semester, that was kind of that one rule that I had with that one student where for every test, I would just say, hey, remember 75, 80%, and not saying that we want to just settle for a C or B, but it's just a way of saying, hey, you may not be perfect, but that's okay. And after every test, she did pretty well, but I said, hey, just because you did well on this one doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna do well on the next one. So if you don't do well on the next one, I don't want you to think that everything and all the hard work that you put in the past, like this one grade doesn't reflect who you are. And I also try to take this to one of my football guys. He was having an off day. He dropped a couple balls. You can physically see on his face he was trying his best, but he wasn't really, doing everything that he wanted to do. After practice, I just talked to him about this 75-80% rule. Basically, it was this thing where we talked about as long as you go 100%, that's all that matters. And as long as you know what you're supposed to do and you tried it, that's fine. And there was one day where he was having a good day, but, I think, when you work with kids for a while and you start to build a relationship, you can always tell when certain kids aren't really pushing themselves to do their best. We just kind of had a conversation after practice, and I asked him, like, hey, do you think you had a good day at practice today? He's like, yeah, I think so. I was like, I think so too, but I don't feel like you were trying your best. That was something that he just kind of was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I feel like there are times where you weren't really focused, you skipped reps and all this kind of stuff. Like anytime you did them well, but we were having a conversation about this one student becoming more of a leader and taking more steps and taking more roles and doing all that. That was the thing that I was looking for in him. And so that was a conversation we had. That's the beauty of that 75 and 80%, because if we push 100 and we miss a little, right, then we're in a good place. But if you're shooting for 75% and you hit the 75%, it feels off. I think with this one rule, obviously there's ways you can cheat the system. Like as you get better at something, it's easier for you to, hit those marks if you're not challenging yourself, because then you're just doing stuff that's easy and you're practicing all the time, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think at the end of the day, if you're practicing one specific thing every day, you're hoping that thing gets easier and easier and easier. But in order to get better at something, you want to continue to push yourself 100% and give yourself that grace period of that, upper 20% to find something that maybe you weren't expecting. And so for those of you guys who are similar to me and who have those moments where we can feel that something was good, and everything is in that upper, 20%, I don't think those are moments where we can, sit back and just be like, everything just worked out and it wasn't just me. And I think there's a thing that comes with humility, but also I think there's a thing that comes with you have put in the work and now you're just reaping what you sowed. For myself, I think that's the one thing that I still struggle with. Something really, really big and cool happens, I'm almost waiting for something equally as bad to happen because I feel like I didn't deserve it. That's the one thing that I'm trying to learn to accept those moments of success, accept those moments of like, no, I earned it. I worked a lot to get to this point. And obviously it was me working hard plus all these other things that allowed me to get to this 90, 100%. But I still had to do a lot of it to get to that level, and you should be proud of that. And that's what a lot that I'm trying to teach myself, what I hope to do more so for my students this coming school year and for my football players this year too. I think when it comes to working hard, I think there's a lack of grace that we are able to give to ourselves. I want to continue to apply this arbitrary 75-80%. How do you quantify 75 and 80% in whatever you do? I don't know. It's not really something I think you can quantify in most things, but it's just a mentality. If you fall into a good area, then hey, we take that and we move forward. As you kind of push yourself 100%, that standard of that 75 and 8% continues to grow. If you're really pushing yourself and trying to do something different, your 75 and 80% a lot of times is better than most people's 100%. And obviously that comes with having to do a lot of practice, having to really hone in on that craft, really focus on it, and to really push yourself to miss sometimes, because that's when you really learn. So just to wrap this video up, I think the biggest example that I can say right now that I've applied that 75-80% rule is the fact that I announced on Instagram a couple days ago that, you know, I competed on Chopped. If you guys know anything about me, that's kind of one of the things that I don't like to do. I don't like putting myself out there. You know, you're competing against other people. You're basically putting your hands in the producers and the editors of a show. And again, it's a competition. So you're also, you know, judged compared to other people. And that's not something that I love. And it's not a position where I like to put myself a lot. It just felt like at that time, that was something that I needed to do. I'm very happy that I did it. I feel like it was one of those things where an opportunity comes up and you just have to take it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. These are the kind of conversations that I feel like are more important than obviously learning how to cook the perfect brisket. And I'm here to help you guys make the best barbecue you can, but I also want to make sure that this channel, again, is more so than just a cooking thing, but it's more so a place where, you know, you guys can watch a video of someone who's struggling just like you, and we're going to move through this together. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with friends, and I'll see you guys in the next one.